All right, man. So peace. So I've been a bit behind in the news. I want to cover this Aaron Hernandez thing and a few of the other deaths that have been and events that have been associated with this period that I spoke on earlier, called Beltane. All right, which is going to culminate tomorrow on May 1st. So once again, please look out for something possibly on May 1st. But now let's get back to Aaron Hernandez. They claim that he committed suicide. So now let's backtrack. We're just going to go through a few segments that I had here on my DVR and just see exactly what the parameters of his death actually were.
Could Aaron Hernandez actually get out of prison and resume his NFL career? His lawyer says yes. Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Evan here with Babcock and Marcus. Yep.
Now, mind you, his lawyer, Baez is his name, is probably the best criminal lawyer in America right now. I mean, this guy's basically a modern day Johnny Cochran. He was able to get Aaron Hernandez off for the double murder that he was accused of. And I had little doubt that he was going to get him exonerated for the other murder that he was convicted of, even though he most likely committed that murder. All right, and probably committed the other two murders as well. But, you know, it's not about what you did. It's about what can be proven or disproven in the judicial system. And I have little doubt that his lawyer was going to get him off and get him out. So there was very little pretext for him to commit so-called suicide. But let's see what goes on here.
Okay, look, if you asked me this a couple of weeks ago, I would say there's no shot in hell of Aaron Hernandez ever getting out of prison.
And obviously this clip here that I'm going through is taking place before Aaron Hernandez's so-called suicide.
Out of prison. He was going to rot there until the day he dies.
Yeah, I was just about to call you crazy for saying that.
But guess what? On Friday, he was acquitted in the double homicide case of killing those two people in a drive-by shooting. He was found not guilty. And we spoke to his attorney, Jose Baez. Now, here's the thing. Aaron Hernandez is still serving a life sentence for the murder of Odin Lloyd in a separate case. I think the assumption there for most people, including myself, is it doesn't matter that he was found not guilty in this double murder. He's still going to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Right.
But Jose Baez made a very good point when we spoke to him. He said, look, I wasn't the attorney when that case was being prosecuted. I'm his attorney now, and I think now that I'm on board, I don't think he's going to be stuck behind bars the rest of his life. Here is what Jose Baez had to say. Take a look.
Do you believe that Aaron Hernandez will be a free man one day?
I think so. You know, I think that, you know, if we look back at some of the things that are available to appeal on that case, I think there's a strong likelihood. And if he hires me for the second trial, we're going to go all at it. And
this is the same guy that got Casey Anthony off for her murder trial. I have little doubt that he was going to get Aaron Hernandez off for his murder conviction. All right. These lawyers, they deal with a lot of circumstantial evidence. They deal with a lot of evidence tampering. They deal with a lot of parameters in these cases that allow clients that may appear to be guilty due to the mass media, how the mass media dispenses information, who appear to be guilty, and they can get them off. Even though I myself believe that Aaron Hernandez killed all three of the people that he was accused of killing. But like I said, that none of that matters when it comes to the reality of the proceedings of a case.
And nothing would make me happier than to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, now here's the thing. He believes there are lots of holes in that case, and if Aaron Hernandez can round up the money to pay him to go back and appeal that case, he truly believes that Aaron Hernandez could be a free man and therefore free to resume his NFL career. Now look, Aaron Hernandez is only 27 years old, so let's say this takes 2 years. He's still under 30.
Oh, he may still be in his prime if he were to get out under that time frame, Evan. I think Jose Baez has kind of, is starting to develop a reputation for kind of winning the unwinnable case. Casey Anthony, we all know about that.
Yes, he is developing a reputation for winning a quote-unquote unwinnable cases. And that being the case, he better watch himself. Because they dealt with Johnny Cochran, and they'll deal with him too. All right. All cases, I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, all crimes have a monetary value. All right. What I mean by that is all crimes are classified as commercial crimes. And what I mean by that is once you're placed or once you're so-called arrested, they charge you with a crime. The reason why they use that term charge is because you have a monetary value placed on that crime. OK, You have a monetary value that's placed on your incarceration. You have a monetary value that's placed on the crime and on the court case. That's why people say, oh, well, he only got off because he had money, or she only got off because she had money. Yes, that's true, because they could pay the overall price of the charges. All crimes are classified as commercial crimes. All right. There's no such thing as real morality. The society that we live in is a commercial society. All right. This is purely corporate. So, yes, I believe that he could have gotten off with this man, Jose Baez, as his lawyer.
Seemed almost definite that she was going to go to jail, and she did not. But I think the thing with an appeal is, Aaron was convicted. The appeal, it's harder to overturn the case. So I don't think...
There aren't any direct witnesses. There's no video footage of him.
This guy's over here blowing kisses. You mean to tell me he went to his jail cell and decided after he just was exonerated on that double murder trial that he just decided, you know what, I'm just going to kill myself?
And pulling the trigger, it was all kind of circumstantial.
And if you were to say he had Jose Baez the first time around when he was on trial, I think he probably would have beat this with Jose Baez. But I think now that he's been convicted, I don't even think with Baez that he could get out.
So the big issue now is money, right? Because Jose Baez was saying, look, he's running out of money. He used to have all this money, millions and millions of dollars.
Well, he's fought 2 murder cases now.
Once again, all crimes are commercial crimes. All right? They place a charge on you in the court system. The court system, for those who don't know, every court has what's known as a Duns number. The Duns and Bradstreet number that recognizes the court as a business. All right? The judge's job is to ascertain the validity of whether or not you can pay your charge, you can pay your bill. All right? All crimes are commercial crimes.
And before he got arrested, he had signed a huge, like a $40 million contract. There was a lot of money there. Jose Baez says the money is running out, but he still has a lot of wealthy friends. And now that they've seen that he's been found not guilty in this double murder case, Jose thinks that a lot of his friends will now come back and support him again and offer money for the appeal.
Right. Those wealthy friends, though, they cannot publicly support him, though, can they?
The Pouncey twins, they come to mind. They're big fans of Aaron Hernandez, so maybe they'll pitch in.
Marquise and Mike Pouncey, that's right. They're both NFL stars in their own right who have also made a lot of money and have a lot of money at their disposal to help out. As a matter of fact, Marcus, it's a good point. The Pouncey brothers actually have communicated with Aaron Hernandez since he's been in prison. We know that for a fact because of the prison record. So it's...
To be honest with you, I'd be interested to know, just looking at some of the things that I've read about Aaron Hernandez, if he was the victim of some form of child molestation or child abuse. He exhibits a lot of the traits of somebody who suffers from what they call dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. Things that are normally indicative of someone who was molested at in some portion of their childhood or was subjected to some form of ritual abuse.
It's very possible that maybe they could kind of fund his appeal. That's a very good point. Now, look, will the NFL community welcome Aaron Hernandez back if he beats the other murder case, if he finds a way to overturn it? One of the guys we spoke with is Chris Carter. Chris Carter had a very strong opinion on this. Take a look.
Do you think Aaron Hernandez is going to play in the NFL? No, I don't think so.
I agree with Chris. If Aaron Hernandez was, even if he was to get out of prison, there's no way that they would ever let him play in the NFL again.
So he thinks that Aaron Hernandez, it doesn't matter if the murder conviction gets overturned, he's dead to the NFL.
Even if Jose Baez was to overturn the case on some technicality, we see a guy like Ray Rice who can't get a job for...
Exactly. Ray Rice can't even get back into the NFL. And he basically hit his woman with a Popeye punch, flew her across the elevator. He can't get a job. Aaron Hernandez damn sure won't be able to get a job. That would have been, hypothetically speaking, of course, had he still been alive.
For domestic violence, is somebody who sat in jail for years on a murder conviction going to be accepted by a team? If that's ultimately overturned, right, and he's found not guilty of the double murder, and then he's overturned, so he's not guilty of the murder of Still think of that PR hit, though, Evan.
I know, but you're dealing with an innocent man. You're dealing with a guy who's not a convict at that point.
He's been involved with gangs and things like that. I just don't think it's a good look for a team to pick him up.
There's a lot of NFL players who've been involved with gangs.
Yeah, he was involved with gangs, a.k.a. low-level masonry. All right. That's all the gangs are, is low-level masonry. Bloods, Crips, Latin Kings, they all have their foundation from masonry.
Gangs
Not openly, though. Openly, here's a tattoo on his neck right there.
Find people for being, I mean, look, Deshaun Jackson's not in a gang, but he's admitted to having friends that are in gangs, and you can't just blackball him from the NFL because of who he hangs out with.
There's a difference between a guy who's affiliated with gang members as opposed to somebody who sat in jail for a murder charge, for a murder conviction. I can't see a team ever touching him. The PR hit would be massive, and he's not working.
It'll be interesting, but look, I personally don't think that Aaron Hernandez is going to get this overturned, even with Jose Baez, who's a wizard with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
If anyone could do it, though.
No, it's true.
Yeah, but as we know, it didn't end up that way because they had other plans for Mr. Aaron Hernandez. All right, so now we're picking up where we left off with the Aaron Hernandez issue.
Aaron Hernandez found dead in his prison cell with a Bible verse written across his forehead, and now his attorney tells TMZ Sports he does not believe the former NFL star took his own life.
Well, neither do I. We have that in common because there's no way in hell that man took his own life.
Welcome to TMZ Sports. Evan here with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up, Evan?
This has been a crazy day. It started at 3 o'clock in the morning when officials at the Sousa...
3 o'clock in the morning, the bewitching hour, right? The bewitching hour. I believe Eminem, that Monarch Child entertainer, that MK Ultra entertainer, he had a song called 3 a.m. That is the bewitching hour. All right. That is the hour for transformation. That is the hour of commemoration to the rights of, the Luciferianism that is practiced by the higher levels of this society. Well, let's find out what's going on here.
The Baranowski facility, the prison facility in Massachusetts, say they found Aaron Hernandez hanged from the window with a bed sheet, and his prison cell was like wedged shut.
Presumably, so the guards couldn't get in and try to
allegedly
rescue him, try to save his life.
Right. They say that all appearances that Aaron took his own life, but Jose Baez, who is Aaron Hernandez's attorney, is saying, I don't necessarily believe that. Now, here's what we know so far. There are sources that are telling local reports that Aaron Hernandez actually had time to take a blood red marker and write John 3:16 on his forehead. They're also saying that he...
Yeah, if he wrote all that stuff on his forehead and all those marks they claim that he wrote on his body, that wasn't for Christ, all right? That was written on his body when they broke into his cell, held him down, killed him, and then hanged him, allegedly, all right? But that wasn't for Christ. That was for Tammuz, all right? Tammuz, Tammuz, all right? That is the god of that is the god that he was sacrificed to. Tammuz, for those of you who don't know, is the god of vegetation. He's the god of rebirth. He's the Semitic version of the so-called Egyptian god Heru or Horus. All right, that's where you get the celebration in the Catholic Church for Lent from. Where they say Lent, where you have to fast for 40 days. In the ancient world, that was known as the period of the weeping for Tammuz. All right, for those of you brothers who believe in the Bible, you can read about that in Ezekiel, the 8th chapter. I believe it's the 14th verse. Okay, Tammuz is the Semitic version of Heru. He's the son of the mother goddess. Now Tammuz was the name Tammuz means it basically means purified through fire, right, or purified through sacrifice. Okay, the celebration of the lamentation for the death of Tammuz, who, like I said, is also known as in some stories he's also known as Osiris or Horus. They say he was killed by a wild boar, the tusk of a wild boar. That's a metaphor. That's talking about him being killed or destroyed by the word of Shem. All right. Osiris, or as he's known in the Bible, Nimrod, led an apostasy against the laws and the statutes of the Most High. And it was through the eloquence of Shem that the apostasy of Nimrod was put down and Nimrod was put to death and his body was dismembered. All right. And that story is maintained in the story of Osiris. OK. Shem is commemorated in the Celtic mythology as Agamius, Ogmius. He's the god of eloquence. Why is that? Because it was through his gift of gab that he was able to teach mankind to come against the apostasy of Osiris. But anyway, getting back to Aaron Hernandez, he was found hung in his cell. Right now, in what they call the Hermetic philosophy, they have what's called the hangman or Tammuz. Right, that's you giving your life up for the cause. All right, Aaron Hernandez was a so-called Beltane sacrifice. Remember, Beltane is a celebration of fire worship. Tammuz is the god of fire. That's also where you get the phoenix rising from the ashes from. Right, that is Horus. So, to make a long story short, Aaron Hernandez, they picked him for a sacrifice.
The Bible was found in the jail cell, opened up to that particular Bible verse. Now, Aaron used to be a very religious guy in college. He used to do prayer sessions with Urban Meyer at the University of Florida every morning at 7:30 in the morning. They're also saying that they're looking into the possibility that Hernandez had smoked synthetic marijuana before he passed away. Now, if that's true, I would imagine there's going to be a major investigation into how Aaron Hernandez got his hands on synthetic marijuana.
I don't really understand what that has to do with the case. Even if he did smoke synthetic marijuana, do you think that was his first time smoking it? And you're telling me that he decided a couple of days after being exonerated for a double murder that this is the best time for me to take my life? Nah, man, I don't think so. I'm not buying it.
It's the most bizarre story I can remember ever. I mean, it's a bizarre time, one, because Aaron Hernandez had just been found not guilty of the double murders. On Friday, we recently talked to his attorney, Jose Baez, who said that there was hope that they might be able to win an appeal and get Aaron out of jail. So things seem to be looking up for Aaron Hernandez for the first time in years. And then he kills himself. It does not add up.
Prison officials say they believe it was a suicide. They're convinced. Jose Baez says not so fast. He says he's been speaking with Aaron Hernandez.
They said that they believe it's a suicide, that they're convinced. Well, here's where the story doesn't make sense. If they believe that it's a suicide, they're convinced. Why would they have to believe it? Don't they have a camera inside of his cell? And if they don't have a camera inside of his cell, why would he feel compelled to block the door, allegedly to stop anybody from interfering with him killing himself? If he wasn't being watched, he wouldn't have to worry about anybody busting in. Right? I mean, conceivably, you go to hang yourself. It's not going to take that long for you to hang yourself. So if you're not being watched, you shouldn't have to worry about somebody busting into your cell at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, that is a maximum security facility, so I'm pretty sure that there are cameras inside of every cell, watching what's going on inside of every cell. So why would they have to believe that he committed suicide? Wouldn't they know? Wouldn't they have video evidence?
There's a lot. As a matter of fact, when we spoke with him on Friday, this is what Jose Baez said about Aaron Hernandez. Take a look.
Aaron's not a killer. What's interesting?
I don't know about that. I believe he's a killer. I just don't think he killed himself.
Interesting is that, he hung around a lot of bad people. And
which makes you a bad person. All right? You are whoever you hang around. The Bible tells you can two walk together unless they be in agreement.
And, if he's guilty of anything, it's guilty of, not forgetting where he came from.
And being an idiot. All right? And he died the death of an idiot. But like I said, when you look at the way that he was found, that's what you call a hermetic philosophical illusion there. The so-called hangman, Tammuz, the god of fire. Again, Beltane is the fire worship festival. Starts off in early spring, the 40 days of Tammuz, the god of vegetation, commemorating or lamenting, weeping for his death. Right. Another name for Tammuz is Bacchus. Right. Bacchus is the Greek version of Tammuz. Like I've said, that it's all talking about the same person. Like I made a video a while back talking about Easter, and somebody said in the comments that I was so-called cross-pollinating the different cultural gods. No, bro, you just don't know. You just don't understand the scope of the of the worldwide worship of basically the same three people, that being Cush, Nimrod, and Semiramis. But we'll get into that a little later. But I have very, very little doubt that Aaron Hernandez was a ritual sacrifice to Tammuz.
The Aaron that I know is not anywhere near what he's portrayed to be.
Well, you don't really know Aaron. It's very common for serial killers or people with psychological issues to have a very charming alter ego.
He's a very intelligent young man, funny, caring, humble, and very grateful for all of those people who stood by him.
Yeah, so was John Wayne Gacy.
Right, so that was on Friday. This morning, we spoke with Jose Baez, and he told us, "We are shocked and surprised at the news of Aaron's death. There were no conversations or correspondence from Aaron to his family or legal team that would have indicated this scenario was a possibility. They said that we are determined to find the truth surrounding his untimely death. We request that authorities conduct a transparent and thorough investigation, and they want to know what really went down in that cell."
Yeah, the point here is if Aaron Hernandez was suicidal, Jose Baez would probably have been able to pick something up if Aaron was depressed. He says he didn't see any indication. Aaron's friends who was...
Of course he wasn't depressed. Why would he be depressed? He was just exonerated of a double murder. No, he wasn't depressed. He was just put to death. It was time for him to go. Is he a sympathetic figure? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And those are the best figures to sacrifice. The people who nobody will question. The person that people will say, oh, well, one less scumbag on the earth. All right. But I have no doubt that he was a sacrifice for the so-called time of Beltane, which is probably going to culminate in something big tomorrow. But we'll see. Sometimes they throw it off, but oftentimes something big will happen on May 1st.
Spoken out, they didn't see any suicidal
As a matter of
tendencies.
fact, Aaron spoke with NFL star Mike Pouncey the day before he died. Matter of fact, Mike Pouncey posted to Instagram and said, "It was just yesterday that we shared our last conversation. I will forever miss you and love you, bro. We will meet again, rest easy." And his former agent also says he doesn't believe that Aaron could kill himself.
So nobody saw any indications here. The thing that baffles me is that the prison that Aaron Hernandez was in was one of the most technologically advanced facilities in the country.
Hello? That white boy at the bottom, he's on point. There's no way that you could tell me that they believe that he committed suicide or they believe that he didn't. All right? There's video surveillance in every cell. So they know what happened.
Lots of cameras, lots of technology.
Hundreds of surveillance cameras throughout the facility. And the assumption is that there was a camera trained on the cell. So what happened? Who was supposed to be watching Aaron Hernandez, who was undoubtedly the prison's most high-profile inmate?
How did he have time to write Bible verses on his forehead? It doesn't seem to make sense.
Because he didn't. It wasn't him that wrote the Bible verses, man. It was those 4 or 5 guys that broke into his cell. You have to understand something. The prison system, the correctional system, and the police force, and a lot of these alphabet agencies, they're filled with so-called Luciferians. All right, believe it or not. All right, and when it was time for him to go, it was time for him to go. There was no doubt about that. And when they talk about John 3:16, that verse is used to push the teaching of the worldwide religion. The leader of the worldwide religion is Tammuz. All right. Or Osiris, as you call him. When that verse is mistaught, that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that's in reference to the child Tammuz. All right. Or as he was also known, Ninus, or Jupiter, Zeus, whatever you want to call him, Balder. Okay. That's where you get the cross from in the first place. When they would put people on a cross, the cross was the symbol for Tammuz, the T, right? Also known as the Tau.
Or the door to get the sheet and then to kill himself without anybody noticing.
Right, somebody should have been able to see this if they do have all these cameras and stop him, and maybe Aaron Hernandez could be alive if somebody did intervene.
And also, when they would put people on the cross, each incision, that represented the number 6. So you would have one for each wrist, which is 666, and then you'd have one that went through both of your feet. That was the third 6. All right. That mark of the beast, that 666, that's in remembrance of Tammuz. All right. It's also known as stigmata. All right. But this man, he was he was like a swine fattened up for slaughter. That's all he was. I don't feel much remorse for him. I mean, I think that he was a sadistic. But, you know, like I said, I'll be interested in knowing a little bit about his past. He seemed like somebody who may have had some ritual abuse in his past. But now they're trying to say that he was on some form of synthetic marijuana, and they're trying to link him up with being a repressed homosexual, and that's why he was upset and all this stuff. They could just say whatever they want to say about him because he's gone. But believe me, he was a ritual sacrifice. All right. But it is what it is, man. Peace. All right. So now this is just a little further evidence to my statement that Aaron Hernandez was sacrificed as a ritual sacrifice for Beltane. There's an article on the Daily News. It says Aaron Hernandez toxicology report shows no trace of drugs. Like I said before, they tried to demonize the man and make him look crazy by claiming that he was on some form of synthetic marijuana, which, like I said, makes no sense. Number one, even if he was a user of synthetic marijuana, why would that have anything to do with him allegedly committing suicide? I'm sure that would not have been the first time that he took that drug. And why would he commit suicide right after he gets exonerated of a double murder? Right? None of that story makes any sense. The only thing that makes sense is the statement that I made, that he was a ritual sacrifice for the period of Beltane, specifically that time period between Easter and May 1st. All right. And this article is going to prove furthermore that he was sacrificed to Tammuz, or as a personification of Tammuz. All right. So now it says Aaron Hernandez's toxicology report shows no trace of drugs. Toxicology tests performed as part of an autopsy on convicted killer and disgraced NFL football star Aaron Hernandez indicated there were no drugs in his system when he died, according to reports. The test revealed there was no trace of synthetic marijuana, often called K2, or any other illegal drugs in Hernandez's system when he hanged himself in his prison cell on April 19th. Now, they're claiming that he hung himself, but before he hung himself, he wrote in red marker John 3:16 on his forehead, and he drew some markings for the stigmata on his wrists and on his feet, allegedly, before he hung himself. Remember, once again, Tammuz is also known as the hangman. All right. He's the god of this world, meaning he's the person who in the pagan mythologies or the pagan systems is viewed as the person who sacrifices life for all people. Why is that? Because as Osiris, he's the one who led the apostasy against the Most High. He's the one who taught mankind how to be so-called liberated from the rules and regulations of the Most High. The practices were first started by his father Cush, and they were continued by Nimrod, who's also known in history as Osiris. And those are the people that you commemorate on holidays like Christmas and Easter, right? You commemorate the wife and mother of Nimrod, known as Semiramis, on Easter, so on and so forth. But let's continue reading on. They claim that he hung himself, right? The Souza Baranowski Correctional Facility in Massachusetts, where Hernandez was serving a life sentence for the murder of fellow athlete Odin Lloyd. It's interesting that the person that he killed was named Odin, because the term Odin is another term for Nimrod, right? One of the names for Nimrod was Adonis or Adon. Right? It's come from the Hebrew word Adonai. It means Lord. Right, when that practice was taken to, or when it was adapted by the Vikings, and we're going to find out who the Vikings were probably in a later video. But when the term Adon, meaning Lord, was adopted by the Vikings, they adopted it as Odin. All right, and Odin had two sons, Thor and Balder. All right, but now let's continue on here. Where Hernandez was serving a life sentence for the murder of fellow athlete Odin Lloyd, was under lockdown last week while officials investigated claims suggesting the former tight end indulged in the illegal substance prior to his death. Sources told the news station the prison search turned up K2 and other homemade weapons. So, in other words, like I stated before, he's been using that synthetic marijuana before. So, like I said, it would have had no impact on his alleged decision to commit suicide. So that was just the media's attempt to besmirch him even further and cast doubt on how he was killed. I'm surprised that they even reported that he had no drugs in his system. So now it says inmates reportedly told investigators they believed the former patriot had been high on drugs when he died. And his prison pal, Kyle Kennedy, recently told the Boston Herald it's possible K2 played a role in Hernandez's death. So now here's the question. If Hernandez allegedly killed himself that night, and he's in a solitary cell, how would his fellow inmates know that he was high? Or how would his fellow inmates have known that the drugs played a factor in the alleged drug use played a factor in his death if they were not there to witness him use drugs? And as has been found, he had no drugs in his system. So obviously those inmates are liars, and they're most probably being paid by the media to give a narrative. So now, one of the things he said to me is, I wouldn't be surprised if that has something to do with his death because that stuff is bad news. Kennedy's lawyer, Larry Army Jr. said that synthetic marijuana is bad news. Also discovered in Hernandez's cell was a series of bizarre artwork. Sources told WCVB he used his own blood to draw on the prison walls. Once again, please remember 3 a.m. is classified as the witching hour. All right, like I said, that man did not kill himself. All right, he was probably asleep in his cell. Around 2:45, about 4 or 5 guys busted in, held him down, killed him, drained some of his blood, put the stigmata on his wrists and on his feet, wrote John 3:16 on his forehead, and also put some drawings on the wall to show everybody what this ritual murder was really about. But we're going to find out what was on the wall. One of the images was an unfinished pyramid and the all-seeing eye of God, similar to what is found on the back of a dollar bill, according to the news station. The word Illuminati was written beneath the pyramid in capital letters. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. For all the people who claim, conspiracy theorists, this conspiracy theorist, that is not that it's a conspiracy, man, or woman, or whoever the person is who's going to come with that canned response, is that you don't understand the world that you're living in. All right. We have to understand the world that we're living in. All right. You might not believe in that, but they do. All right. They're carrying on an apostasy that has been going on for 4,000 years. All right. That being the apostasy of Cush and Osiris and Semiramis. They believe in it. Like I said, like I've stated in the past, the worship of Osiris, or as he's also known as Baal or Molech, it involves blood ritual sacrifice, or human sacrifice as it's called. All right. And Aaron Hernandez fell knee deep in it. He was sacrificed for Tammuz. And this pretty much proves it. All right. So peace.